How did Islam grow from a revelation in the deserts of Arabia to one of the world's most influential global religions? This video takes you on a journey through history, following the spread of Islam through trade, conquest, scholarship, and spiritual devotion. From Mecca to West Africa, from India to Southeast Asia, discover how Islam transcended borders, embraced diverse cultures, and shaped civilizations. Whether you're curious about its rapid rise or its lasting impact, this story reveals the powerful forces, both divine and human, that made Islam a truly global faith. Watch now to uncover the untold story of Islam's worldwide journey. Islam is today one of the largest and most widespread religions in the world, practiced by over 1.9 billion people across continents. From the bustling cities of Indonesia and Nigeria to the heart of Europe and North America, Islam has taken root in diverse cultures, societies, and traditions. But how did a revelation received by the Prophet Muhammad in 7th century Arabia grow to become a global religion? The answer lies in a complex interplay of faith, culture, politics, economics, and human relationships. This essay explores the rise and global spread of Islam, beginning with its origin in Mecca and Medina, through early conquests and empire building, to trade, migration, and spiritual movements that extended its reach far beyond its birthplace. 1. The birth of Islam in Arabia. Islam began in 610 CE, when the Prophet Muhammad, a merchant from Mecca, received the first revelation of the Quran through the angel Jibril Gabriel. Over the next 23 years, he preached monotheism, justice, charity, and submission to one God, Allah. Islam's early message challenged the polytheistic and tribal structure of Meccan society. Despite fierce opposition, Islam gradually gained followers, especially among the poor, slaves, and marginalized groups. The migration Hijra to Medina in 622 CE marked a turning point, transforming Muhammad from a prophet to a political and military leader. By the time of his death in 632 CE, most of the Arabian Peninsula had accepted Islam. 2. The Rashidun Caliphate and early expansion, 632 to 661 CE. After Muhammad's death, leadership passed to the Rashidun, rightly guided caliphs. These leaders, Abu Bakr Umar ibn al-Khattab, Uthman ibn Affan, and Ali ibn Abi Talib, oversaw the rapid expansion of Islam beyond Arabia. This expansion wasn't just religious, but also political and military. Under Umar, Muslim armies defeated the Byzantine and Sassanid empires, taking control of Syria, Palestine, Egypt, and Persia. The use of dhimmi status allowed Christians, Jews, and Zoroastrians to practice their religions under Muslim rule in exchange for a tax jizya, creating a multicultural but Islamic-led society. Importantly, Islam was not always forced on conquered peoples. Conversion was often gradual, driven by social, economic, and spiritual factors. 3. The Umayyad and Abbasid Caliphates, 661 to 1258 CE, from empire to civilization. The Umayyad dynasty, 661 to 750 CE, expanded the Islamic world into North Africa, Spain, Al-Andalus, and Central Asia. Their capital in Damascus became a center of governance and learning. Although criticized by some for lavish living and ethnic favoritism toward Arabs, the Umayyads oversaw the first great Islamic empire. The Abbasid Caliphate, 750 to 1258 CE, with its capital in Baghdad, marked a golden age of Islamic civilization. Science, philosophy, medicine, and the arts flourished. Persian, Indian, and Greek knowledge was preserved and built upon by Muslim scholars. Key factors during this period that made Islam global: translation and scholarship. The House of Wisdom in Baghdad translated texts from Greek, Sanskrit, and other languages into Arabic. Trade networks. Muslim merchants traveled along the Silk Road, Indian Ocean, and Trans-Saharan trade routes, carrying Islam with them. Cosmopolitan cities. Cities like Baghdad, Cairo, and Cordoba became melting pots of cultures, languages, and ideas, often under Islamic patronage. 4. Islam and trade, a global connector. Trade was perhaps the most peaceful and effective method through which Islam became global. Trans-Saharan trade. Muslim traders brought Islam to West Africa via caravan routes linking North Africa to the Sahel. Islam was adopted by rulers like Mansa Musa of Mali, who helped make Timbuktu a center of Islamic learning. Indian Ocean trade. Merchants from Arabia, Persia, and East Africa traveled to India, Sri Lanka, and Southeast Asia. The spread of Islam to Indonesia, the world's most populous Muslim-majority country, was largely due to trade rather than conquest. Silk Road. Islam reached Central Asia and China through overland trade. Cities like Bokhara and Samarkand became centers of Islamic culture. Muslim merchants often built mosques and madrasas, intermarried with locals, and served as cultural ambassadors for Islam. This gradual, non-coercive spread often led to deep, lasting conversions. 5. Sufi mysticism, Islam of the heart. Another major factor in Islam's global spread was the role of Sufism, or Islamic mysticism. While Orthodox scholars focused on law and doctrine, Sufi saints, called awliya, emphasized personal experience of the divine, love for God, and spiritual discipline. Sufi orders such as the Qadiriya, Naqshbandiya, and Chishtiya established networks of zawiyas, spiritual lodges, across the Muslim world. In Africa, Sufi leaders helped Islam become deeply embedded in local cultures. They translated Islamic concepts into local languages and often integrated aspects of indigenous traditions. In South Asia, Sufis played a major role in converting millions in India and Pakistan. Their tombs remain pilgrimage sites, blending Islamic and local spiritual practices. Sufism made Islam more accessible and emotionally resonant to diverse populations, especially in non-Arab regions. 6. The role of Islamic empires. From the 13th to 18th centuries, powerful Islamic empires further cemented the global presence of Islam. The Ottoman Empire, 1299 to 1924, centered in Istanbul. It ruled much of Southeast Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. The Ottomans standardized Islamic law, supported religious scholars, ulama, and built majestic mosques. The Safavid Empire, 1501 to 1736, based in Persia, modern-day Iran. The Safavids promoted Shia Islam as a state religion, creating a unique religious identity that still shapes Iran today. The Mughal Empire, 1526 to 1857 in India. The Mughals blended Islamic and Hindu culture, supported art and architecture, like the Taj Mahal, and governed a vast, multi-religious population. These empires did not just expand borders, they institutionalized Islam through education, law, and cultural patronage. Their influence is still seen in Islamic architecture, language, and customs. 7. Colonialism and the Islamic Revival. The 19th and early 20th centuries brought European colonization to many Muslim-majority lands. Colonial powers often attempted to weaken Islamic institutions, replace Arabic with European languages, and marginalize Muslim leaders. In response, Islamic reform movements emerged. Wahhabism in Arabia sought to return to a pure form of Islam. Pan-Islamism aimed to unite Muslims politically and spiritually across borders. Scholars like Jamal al-Din al-Afghani and Muhammad Abdu promoted Islamic modernism, seeking to reconcile faith with science and reason. Though colonization disrupted traditional Islamic societies, it also inspired a revival of Islamic identity and global consciousness among Muslims. 8. Migration, Globalization, and Islam in the Modern World. In the 20th and 21st centuries, globalization and migration have made Islam a truly global religion in new ways. Migration to the West. Millions of Muslims have moved to Europe, North America, and Australia. They have built mosques, schools, and communities, making Islam a permanent part of Western society. Digital Islam. The Internet has allowed Muslims around the world to connect, learn, and debate. Online Quran classes, fatwa services, and Islamic apps have made the faith more accessible than ever. Interfaith dialogue. As Muslims live in increasingly pluralistic societies, they engage in conversations about coexistence, human rights, and social justice from an Islamic perspective. Islam is no longer just a religion of the Middle East or South Asia. It is now embedded in the global conversation about ethics, identity, and the future of humanity. 9. Diversity within unity. One of the reasons Islam has succeeded globally is its ability to remain unified in belief, while allowing for cultural diversity. In West Africa, Muslims wear colorful robes, sing praise songs, and dance in celebration. In Indonesia, Islamic holidays are blended with local traditions and art. In Turkey, Islam coexists with secularism, while in Saudi Arabia, religious conservatism dominates. Sunni and Shia branches of Islam, though historically divided, both trace their faith to the Prophet and the Quran. This flexibility, rooted in the universality of Islamic teachings and the adaptability of its practice, has allowed Islam to thrive across vastly different societies. Islam's global reach. Today, Islam is practiced by more than 1.9 billion people across every inhabited continent. From the mosques of Cairo to the mountains of Indonesia, from the bustling streets of Lagos to the neighborhoods of New York, Islam thrives in a multitude of cultures, languages, and historical contexts. But the question remains, how did a faith born in the deserts of 7th century Arabia come to span the globe? The answer cannot be reduced to a single cause. While military conquest played a role in Islam's early expansion, the global success of Islam was not built on coercion alone. Instead, Islam became a world religion through devotion, dialogue, and adaptability, rooted in spiritual message, but carried through trade, education, mysticism, and deeply rooted community life. This essay explores the non-coercive and transformative pathways through which Islam spread, emphasizing its remarkable ability to transcend cultural and geographic borders. 1. The spiritual message, a faith for all peoples. At its heart, Islam offered a simple but profound message: belief in one God, Tawhid, moral accountability, and submission Islam to the divine will. This message resonated not just in Arabia, but in societies across the world that had experienced social inequality, spiritual fragmentation, and moral uncertainty. The universalism of the Quran, addressing all humanity, not a single tribe or nation, was revolutionary. Verses emphasized that all humans were created from a single soul, Quran 4:1, and that righteousness, not race or status, defined one's worth before God, Quran 49:13. This spiritual foundation made Islam accessible and appealing beyond its Arabian origins, opening the door for its global transmission. 2. Trade and commerce, the peaceful carriers of Islam. Perhaps the most powerful engine for Islam's global spread was trade, carried not by armies, but by merchants. From the 7th century onward, Muslim traders were active across vast networks: the Silk Road, Trans-Saharan routes, and Indian Ocean maritime lanes. West Africa. Muslim, Berber, and Arab merchants traveled across the Sahara to kingdoms like Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. As rulers adopted Islam to facilitate trade and diplomacy, Islamic culture, law, and education took root. Timbuktu, once a remote settlement, blossomed into a major center of Islamic scholarship. East Africa. Along the Swahili coast, Islam arrived through Arab and Persian traders who settled in cities like Kilwa, Mombasa, and Zanzibar. Through intermarriage and social integration, Islam became embedded in the fabric of East African coastal culture, blending with local languages and customs. Southeast Asia. Islam's introduction to Indonesia, Malaysia, and the southern Philippines was almost entirely peaceful. Muslim merchants from India and Yemen brought their faith along with goods. Local rulers and coastal elites embraced Islam for its spiritual appeal and the trade advantages it offered. Over time, Islam became the dominant faith in the region, now home to the world's largest Muslim population. 3. Sufism, the mystical path that crossed borders. While formal scholarship and theology were central to Islam's development, it was Sufism, the spiritual, mystical dimension of the faith, that helped Islam penetrate deeply into local cultures. Sufi saints or awliya traveled widely, spreading Islam not through debate or dogma, but through spiritual example, compassion, and community building. They often lived among ordinary people, healing the sick, feeding the poor, and preaching love of God. Sufism made Islam intimate and relatable. In India, the Chishti Sufis used poetry and music to draw Hindus and Muslims alike into the spiritual fold. In Africa, Sufi brotherhoods like the Qadiriya and Tijaniya helped Islam thrive even in rural and remote regions. In Central Asia, Sufi shrines became centers of pilgrimage and cultural life, transcending sectarian and ethnic boundaries. By emphasizing inner transformation, love, and tolerance, Sufis helped root Islam in local contexts without erasing indigenous identities. 4. Scholarship and education, the intellectual web of Islam. Another crucial factor in Islam's globalization was its commitment to knowledge and education. The Prophet Muhammad is reported to have said, "Seeking knowledge is obligatory upon every Muslim." This ethos created a global Islamic scholarly tradition that valued not only religious sciences, but also philosophy, astronomy, medicine, and literature. Baghdad under the Abbasids became the intellectual capital of the Islamic world. The House of Wisdom translated and preserved Greek, Persian, and Indian texts. Córdoba, in Islamic Spain, rivaled any European city in science and culture. Fez, Cairo, Timbuktu, and Delhi developed prestigious Islamic universities, madrasas, where students from across the Muslim world gathered. These networks of scholars and students created a shared Islamic intellectual identity. Whether one studied in Morocco or Samarkand, one could engage with the same texts, recite the same Quran, and share a common religious language. The global exchange of knowledge made Islam portable and coherent, enabling it to adapt to diverse societies without losing its essence. 5. Cultural adaptation, a religion rooted in local soil. Islam did not spread as a monolithic or Arabiizing force. Instead, it adapted to local cultures, languages, and customs while preserving core beliefs. This adaptability made Islam more sustainable than ideologies that sought to erase indigenous identities. In Indonesia, Islam coexisted with existing Hindu-Buddhist traditions. Local practices like wayang, shadow puppet theater, were infused with Islamic ethics. In West Africa, Islamic rituals blended with local spiritual practices, producing unique musical and artistic expressions. In South Asia, Persian, Turkish, and Indian elements fused to create Indo-Islamic architecture, literature, and cuisine. This syncretism was not without tension, but it shows how Islam's flexibility allowed it to thrive in radically different environments. 6. Community and the Ummah, a global brotherhood. Islam's emphasis on the Ummah, the global community of believers, created a powerful sense of identity that transcended borders. The shared rituals of prayer, salat, Fasting, Sawm, almsgiving, zakat, and pilgrimage, Hajj, connected Muslims across continents. The Hajj pilgrimage especially became a yearly gathering of a global Muslim family. Pilgrims from Africa, Asia, and beyond met in Mecca, exchanged ideas, and returned home with renewed commitment and new perspectives. Mosques, Islamic centers, and charities provided community support, especially in times of crisis. Islam offered not just theology, but a way of life that addressed family, justice, ethics, and community care. This communal framework helped Islam become not only a religion, but a social system capable of enduring migration, colonization, and modernity. 7. Resistance and resilience. Islam in the colonial era. In the 19th and 20th centuries, Muslim lands fell under European colonial rule. Colonizers often sought to suppress Islamic institutions, replace Arabic with European languages, and promote Christianity or secularism. Yet Islam proved resilient. Sufi orders led anti-colonial resistance in places like Algeria and Sudan. Muslim reformers like Jamal al-Din al-Afghani, Muhammad Abduh, and Sir Syed Ahmed Khan promoted educational and political reform rooted in Islamic principles. Despite colonial attempts to divide and weaken the Ummah, Islam remained a source of identity and resistance. Colonial oppression, paradoxically, sharpened Muslim awareness of their shared global faith and helped seed pan-Islamic movements that would shape the modern era. 8. Migration and diaspora. Islam in the modern world. In the modern period, migration became another engine of Islam's globalization. Muslims moved to Europe, North America, and other parts of the world in search of education, employment, and safety. These diaspora communities built mosques, schools, and organizations, creating vibrant Islamic identities in non-Muslim lands. In France, Germany, and the UK, Islam has become one of the largest religions. In the United States, Muslims are an ethnically diverse and rapidly growing population, contributing to fields from politics to medicine. Islam in the West has also become a site of dialogue, conversion, and redefinition. Muslims face challenges, Islamophobia, assimilation pressure, but continue to offer a faith that speaks to spirituality, justice, and meaning. 9. Digital Islam, a faith in the information age. Today, Islam continues to transcend borders, this time through digital platforms. Quran apps, online fatwa services, and virtual khutbahs sermons allow Muslims to practice and learn across time zones. Social media helps Muslims build global solidarity, mobilizing for humanitarian causes, raising awareness, and debating contemporary issues. While digital Islam has sparked new debates and divisions, it also affirms the enduring global nature of the faith, a religion as present in a village mosque as it is in a Twitter feed. Islam's global journey. Islam's journey across the globe is not simply a matter of empires and expansion. It is a story of hearts and minds, shaped by devotion, dialogue, and the relentless human search for meaning. It spread not just through swords, but through songs, stories, scholars, sailors, saints, and students. Its adaptability allowed it to take root in distant lands without erasing local identities. Its teachings offered a moral compass, its rituals built community, and its call to prayer echoed across continents. In the heart of Africa, the islands of Southeast Asia, and the urban landscapes of Europe and America, Islam continues to evolve, inspire, and guide. As we look to the future, Islam remains a faith beyond borders, shaped by its sacred past, grounded in its living present, and propelled by the hopes of believers around the world. Adaptability and historical impact. through trade routes, empires, scholars, and everyday believers. Its message reached across continents and centuries. As we've seen, Islam didn't just spread. It thrived by connecting hearts, minds, and civilizations. If this video helped you see that journey in a new light, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful insights into world history and faith. Leave a comment below. How has Islam shaped your view of the world? Until next time, stay curious.